Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. The Ayanola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari, ICA, has written to National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis requesting permission to take 50 pounds of cannabis to St. Vincent and the Grenadines as part of a humanitarian effort. ICA hopes to take supplies including food and other essentials to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But included in that package, the organization would like to deliver what it calls the Holy Herb.
We as a Rastafari community, we use herb as our sacrament, and we know that presently our brothers in St. Vincent, our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent do not have access to the sacrament. So we penned a letter to our Minister of Internal Security, the Honorable Herman Gill Francis, seeking a bit of an exemption to allow us to travel with some of our sacrament to deliver to our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent. We know that cannabis is legal or decriminalized to a great extent in St. Vincent, so we know the Vincentian authorities will not have an issue with that. However, St. Lucia is the problem. So we wrote to our Minister of Internal Security, Herman Gill Francis. We carbon copied a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister, Alan Shastney, also to the Comptroller of Customs, and also the Commissioner of Police. And we sought the permission for us to travel with some sacrament to take down to our brothers and sisters, because we know the situation in St. Vincent right now is very depressing. And it's a holy herb, and of course, it is our sacrament.
The damage caused to the Badalil Road on Thursday has brought into sharp focus the need for a northeast highway. So says Infrastructure Minister Stephenson King as he visited the site Friday morning.
While the Ministry of Infrastructure sought to bring temporary relief to commuters in the Badalil area following landslides brought on by heavy rains, the Infrastructure Minister has gone a step further to provide a permanent solution to these perennial issues. Talks of a northeast highway are not new, but Minister Stephenson King says it's high time that it is acted upon. He says plans are already in the pipeline.
It certainly enforces the dream and the plans for a northeast highway and what we call a central bypass, which means a road from the east to the west, bypassing the Badalil and utilizing more navigable terrain. It also enforces the point for the northeast highway, the northeast highway link road rather, which will take you from Groseley to the east coast. We are actively engaging in discussions, and we're about to sign an agreement to allow for the necessary studies to be undertaken. The east-west link road and the north-south link road, both of which are intended to bring relief to traffic from the north to the south and from the east to the west.
Questions have surfaced as to the integrity of that particular road and whether enough was done to reinforce the existing structure, as the area is known to be susceptible to adverse effects of climate change. King says that a number of interventions have taken place over the past 11 years.
Those of you who, if you do have the eyes to see, you'd note that the slide that has taken place is really along the old East Coast Road and the new East Coast Road, which was done in 1970. Since then, 1974, since then, what we have seen is a continuous improvement to the roadway, mainly the carriageway and the retaining structures to retain the road. But of course, as you rightly said, climate change brings about new phenomena. And therefore, it is for this reason that the government has been actively pursuing the idea of having a north-south link road and an east-west link road to bring relief and to remove people from the Badalil, which from time memorial has been an area of tremendous atmospheric events.
The Badalil Road remains closed until further notice. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Heavy rainfall resulted in a major landslide Thursday which crippled the flow of traffic between the north and the south of the island via the east coast. On Friday, a press briefing was held to inform the media and in essence the nation on what transpired as well as what is planned to fix the issue. Rochelle Gonzalez was present and filed this report.
I'm standing at the site of a major landslide which occurred along the Bardalil, which is sandwiched between Wavin-Paso and Tomazo. The incident occurred in the early hours of Thursday morning following heavy rains. The landslide destroyed a major part of the Bardalil's retaining wall. It took down a major part of the road, a number of trees, and it also affected the utility and telecommunication companies. Deputy Chief Engineer Len Leo spoke about the extent of the damages caused by the slide.
The complete undercarriageway seems to be undermined and is continuously being eroded. So we are very sensitive at the moment as to what we intend to do. A proper assessment needs to be done as to the correct form of action, but in the meantime we are doing our best to keep part of the Bardalil Road open. We are doing this, as you can see behind me, is works going on to extend the carriageway on the upper side of the carriageway. This is being done using crushed stone. We've already embedded Wasco pipes underneath to continuously have the surface runoff water being able to continue down the Bardalil. We are filling up right now with crusher run. We shall compact it and stabilize it, and then we shall put an asphalt surfacing on the top to make the actual carriageway hopefully at least 6.3 meters wide, allowing vehicles to move in both directions.
Meanwhile, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ivor Daniel, spoke about the cost of undertaking the reconstruction works of this project.
We do not have the cost of the damage at this point. We're hoping that as soon as we've gotten this new access rectified, the engineers will begin to carry out their assessment. From there, we're getting the design, whatever the appropriate design, to show up the area, and the estimates will be built from there. But to my mind, and having had certain experiences, I know it's going to be a sort of a significant cost to the government. It is not a cost that was anticipated, but we can tell that through the issue of climate change, the high intensity rainfall that we had, that this created this issue on our hands. I was sitting at a Port Council meeting yesterday, and in the same breath having to coordinate, speaking to NEMO, getting Wasco, getting Lucilec, and all the other utilities to come together.
Daniel gave his assurance that measures are being put in place to ensure that pedestrians and nearby residents are able to make their way through the area.
Up to this morning, I was up early speaking to Shannon to ensure that the public was sensitized and aware as to what they could do, because persons got the message indicating that the road would be closed at 6 p.m. Last evening. But they were now trying to determine, can I travel to Castries this morning? And even when we said that the road is closed, persons were asking, can I still go to work? And even on a particular talk show this morning, persons were still wondering, can we walk through? Will we give pedestrian access? We had to respond, yes. And we can tell that it's been happening. I think there's a shuttle service that's happening there. We've moved it a lot closer. Our colleague engineer can speak further to it, but we're trying to accommodate persons as much as possible. We believe that within perhaps a few hours we will be able to have full passage of the road, creating perhaps a safe access for persons to get through this area.
For the Hot 7 TV Nightly News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez reporting from the site of the landslide.
One senior member of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force is sending a warning to nosy nationals who are considering coming to the site of the Bardalil landslide simply for viewing purposes. Superintendent of Police Elvis Thomas warns that there are still dangers surrounding the site, and so people should stay away if they have no business in the area.
A stern message has been sent out to nosy Nellies and curious cats who intend to make their way to the Bardalil to view and capture images of the landslide that occurred on Thursday morning. Superintendent of Police Elvis Thomas reminded the masses that works are being carried out at the site. He implored them to use the local media outlets to stay updated on the state of the road.
We don't want persons coming in. This is a site where we have a lot of work happening. This is not a place for persons to be coming and taking videos. Persons who are passing through are persons who have to get to work or to go home, and so we're not encouraging anybody to come here to stop and to take photos. If you want to know anything, continue monitoring your media houses and the information will be available there.
Thomas appealed to the masses to bear patience as the authorities and employees at the site work hard to restore the affected area to its former conditions.
Allowing some degree of passage by some persons, but the road is still closed to vehicular traffic. We understand that some persons have to get to work, but we have our officers on the scene who are managing the process together with the experts on the ground. And so we just want persons to be patient with what is happening here. They are doing their best to ensure that some normalcy is restored. And so let us just play our part in just ensuring that this swing is completed and a degree of normalcy is brought to the situation.
Thomas said measures are being taken to ensure that people traversing the route are safe in the form of shuttles, police officers and line staff who will be present to guide those walking through the area. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
The Forestry Department made its presence felt at the site of the Bodilil slide to ensure that both the integrity of the land is secure as well as the natural habitat of local and endemic wildlife. One member of the department says the issue also serves to highlight the importance of trees.
Trees and forests play important roles in reducing landslide risk through various mechanisms. Tree roots reinforce soil layers, anchor the soil to bedrock, and form buttresses against soil movement. But when nature takes its course and landslides still occur, efforts must still be made to preserve as much of the vegetation as possible. And that's where the Forestry Department comes in. Forestry personnel were at the site of the landslide in the Bodilil area on Friday.
The basic job of the Department of Forestry right now is to ensure that firstly to ensure the conservation of the forests and to ensure that too many trees are not removed in excess, because we still need the land soil stability. We need them to stabilize the soil. So basically it's just here to supervise and ensure that things go according to the forest code and to ensure the stability of the forest reserve.
With the damage caused by the landslides on Thursday, it was necessary to remove some of those trees. Christoph hopes that when the works are completed, the department can return to replant new trees in the area.
We would like that probably less trees be removed, but due to the work that has to be done, unfortunately some of the trees would need to be removed, especially those that are preventing the equipment from accessing the bottom of this landslide.
Poorly constructed roads and the loss of soil reinforcement and water extraction by tree roots increases the probability of landslides during trigger events such as prolonged heavy rainfall. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Accountant Richard Peterkin says St. Lucia is facing an economic crisis. He says in addition to the COVID-19 pandemic and the toll that it is having on the island, there are other telling signs that even post-COVID-19, the country will have a monumental task in getting back on its feet.
St. Lucia is gearing up for an intense COVID elections. As political parties and their supporters continue to make a case for their party, accountant Richard Peterkin says St. Lucia is facing an economic crisis. He says while COVID-19 can be blamed for the situation that the country is facing, there is also no telling whether St. Lucia would have been better off if there was no pandemic.
The thing is because of COVID. I mean, the government has said, for example, that had it not been for COVID, we'd be so much better off. I can't say that for a fact. But there's no question that throughout the Caribbean, throughout the world, what has happened is that countries have been forced to borrow money, to spend money on health and defeating the virus that has put us, that otherwise would have been used in other programs. And then we've lost industries. Governments have been shut down. Countries have been shut down. Businesses have been shut down. That's a crisis, no matter which way you want to look at it. And the question is, how do you get out of it?
He says as elections approaches its peak season, there is constant debate on who would be best to get the country back on its feet once the pandemic is well contained, not just in St. Lucia, but the world over. A feat, he says, may not be as easy as it sounds.
There's no easy out. The options are few, and it's guesswork as to whether and truly we'll be able to open up we'll get all the tourists back, we'll get more diversification in our economy, etc., etc. We don't know for sure we can do that. Nobody is Superman. So you basically go with who you think is best as indicated, whether from the past or from the present, that they, based on their policies, they are the ones to do it.
Peterkin says as the effects of the pandemic unravels, there is hope that the populace looks beyond party colors and focus more on who has the better plans and will be able to fix the economic and social crisis which has the country under siege. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
Stay with us, there's more news coming up after the break.